Good morning, crime community. I'm here to continue to read out Squeaky's book. Just going to continue on with the verdict in the Lynette Fromm case. He recited Ogden Nash's poem called The Song of the Open Road, which states that the poet will never see a billboard lovelier as a tree. How many of our kids went to nut houses across the country just because they saw the concrete billboard cancer reality killing the world and they could not cope? Would you or I give our lives to stop the world from burning? What happens when it burns? Think about it. Charles Manson, Bruce Davis, Steve Grogan, Robert Beausoleil, Charles Watkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, Leslie Van Houten, and Susan Atkins did. Put Nixon and the Pope in the courtroom with Manson and the family, and we will see what has been running our ignorances, what truth has been closets, and who are the real servants of the people on earth. What has she been talking about in this case? He's not a public servant. The truth is as bad as is good. Manson can explain it. I'm not allowed to explain. There will be too many more young murderers, beginning with the persons typing this letter. I do not realize all the thoughts that are moving within the minds of not only the country, but the world. Manson has been thinking through the world for 5 years in that closet. He has been under the sun 3 times in the last 4 years. For those of us outside to imagine this would be hard. What man could lay in a cell for nothing to do and all the negative thoughts of the world on his back, with every reach of competition trying with sharp nails to pick his brain and down him so they, him, her, Ms., it can be him. What man is clear awareness and perception of thoughts beyond most men's mind, past or present? Who could know what people are really thinking except without judgment? And reflect your own judgments of themselves in truth for their own balance and sight, often to their own detriment. I will just summarize that. It takes a man of courage to tell people what they don't want to hear and be able to reflect themselves back on them again because they do what is in their own detriment. People don't like it then. She says it is an exceptional man who tells the truth and others who do not want to hear. Think of the not exceptional caught up in the foolish formalities signifying nothing, but may learn to face themselves through him, but only while he lives. If he dies, the truth along with him dies. There are many children with knives who love the earth and put their lives on his name, pledging not to allow this, making references to his idea, what's he been through and what's he now known. He always nice face will not give you the meanness that you raised your strength and help you to survive. The gift of the mean hard truth can save lives if we accept as a part of the thoughts that are moving. If not, it is a bloody bedrooms and screams in the night unanswered. What does it mean? That means that we don't understand the truth, and these are things going to happen again. Will there be other children? And then this will come up possibly with things will happen. Virga, who has been following the text of the Rosie letter, closely clipped the next passage. In it, Lynn called for someone to get multi-millionaire Robert Abplanalp, the secretive intimate of Richard Nixon, who has also happened to be the inventor of the first mass production aerosol spray valve. Virga can resume. If Nixon can steal the country and sell it back to the back door while the CIA tracks blood all over the world and the Pope shakes hands on the deal, what is Jose Gonzalez doing in jail for stealing bread? Why is George Brown going to prison for dope? Why did Sylvia kill her mother? Why did Pat Krenwinkel, Leslie Van Houten, Susan Atkins, Charles Watkins, Robert Beausoleil, Stephen Grogan, and Bruce Davis kill 9 people? Why did Charles Manson get life in prison for telling the truth? Manson can explain it. In the courtroom with Nixon and the Pope, the world would know why. Why did Jose Gonzalez go to prison for stealing bread and other people go to prison for doing things while Nixon walks free? It is selective justice in this country. All right, the other letters are basically the same thing, so I'm not going to read those to you. The last letter says that in the new courtroom, Manson can explain the thought that all of you have overlooked and stop this killing. And not precipitate it, but stop it. That's the concluding remark in each and every one of these letters, and you cannot just isolate out certain factors. You have to consider the whole thing. Lynette Fromm had a cause. She wanted people to know about these things in her letter. You might not agree with everything that is there, but there is an awful lot of it. If you are being honest with yourselves, and you have to agree with, there have been successful in capturing the media through the nation by going to the park that day, but did go there with no intent to kill the president. I submit to you that the answer to that is no. Certainly, there is a certain amount of what I would call fear tactics in her writings, but there is nothing new to mankind. Just look at the religion itself. There's a lot of fear in there, the motives people are doing things, the fear of going to hell. You tell your children you'll spank them if they do something, and that's a form of fear. Fear can be a very motivating thing. She wanted a forum. She wanted people to listen to her. She felt that these problems were urgent and that someone should look up at them and we should look at them. Maybe to sum up her message, it is, wake up, America. I remember seeing a special about 3 or 4 years ago about Lake Erie with all the manufacturing, the residue from manufacturing, the pollution that went into the waters. It described it as a cesspool. Now we have to wake up, and I ask you this. If she killed President Ford, who possibly was going to listen to her, she knew that no one would listen. Why? Because if there was anything she learned from what the other members of the Manson family did, it was to them that when you actually murder, people will not listen. On the other hand, Verga asserted that it would be equally useless for Lynn to approach the president with an unloaded weapon. If she went into that park with an empty gun with no bullets in the clip at all, and the only forum she would have would be a psychiatrist. She had 2 psychiatrists come down to the jail as it was. That wasn't the forum she wanted. Now, Verga insisted, the last thing I'm trying to tell you is that she had any mental distress or defect. I'm cited the report of Dr. Charles Fisher, who examined Lind upon her arrest. Her thoughts were well organized. I saw no instances, nor did she give any indications of any delusions or bizarre ideations or paranoid feelings. He eliminates all that, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. When she went out there for a purpose. She wasn't under the influence of anything. She wasn't under the influence of any drug or narcotics, so that would not fully and completely what she was doing. She had a cause for what she wanted to do. Lynn, she reminded the jury, had started her day by taking a decongestant capsule. She remembers and tells the doctor about a contact she took, and yet you are to believe that she forgot to put the pill in the chamber, to put the shell in the chamber of that weapon, or that somehow it didn't get in there. On the contrary, Verga said, she never intended to put one in there. Let's go to the evidence in the park. Now, if Lynette Fromm went out to the park to kill the president, then she alone knew she was going to do it, and I know that I'm going to do it, and I don't know what I'm going to do. There's an element of surprise involved, and I can act very rapidly. It's going to be extremely difficult for you to stop me if I really bent on killing the president. Then there have been talk about this 38 that she's been asked for from Mr. Wilmarth. I think that the prosecution was trying to tell us the reason she wanted a revolver is that she didn't know how to use the automatic. Now you know that she has had experience with the automatic weapon, and there's a picture of it where she is with a weapon in her hand. All right, she's in the park, she's in the crowd. Everyone is looking at the president. No one has really paid much attention to her. She can have that weapon in any position she wants it to be in. She has this long robe on and she pulls the pistol up and brings it out and lets it fire. What? That's not what happened. Do you know what the president said about look on her face? He said, it's like someone who wanted to shake my hand, someone who wanted to talk to me. Obviously, she had a look of concern and he hesitated. That's the word he used. He didn't see a look of violence on her face or a look of anger in her eyes. Agent Bwendorf was walking along and he was moving his hands, right? She knows there was a lot of Secret Service agents around the president. Everyone knows that. She could have jumped out in front of the president and just shot. That was not what she did. She brings the weapon up, and there's Borndorf coming along with his hands. I submit to you that she moved the weapon at a point in time when she knew the Secret Service agent was there, and she knows the weapon is going to be taken away from her, and she hasn't done, and she doesn't want to have anyone get hurt. If she had jumped out in front of the president and shot him, then she would know what she would be shot and there would be no message. Verga contrasted this situation to President Kennedy in Dallas 63. It's not like you're going up a building and you snipe someone and then they have to find out which building that person is in and so forth. She's right there. She's going to be apprehended. There's no question about that. And she was apprehended because she pointed the weapon at the president. By doing that, she committed a crime of assault on the president. I believe in Lynette Fromey's mind that the weapon was a symbol of what can happen when the gun is pointed. It can go off. It can, if we don't listen, we will be destroying ourselves. Really, the weapon is pointed at all of us because we are destroying our earth. And when we do, we will destroy ourselves. Verga observed that these were no evidence that Lynn's hand or her trigger finger was injured or bruised. The president says he never saw the finger on the trigger. Brendorf says he doesn't recall seeing her finger on the trigger. None of them even said she had a grip on the gun. And that would lead you circumstantially to believe that she had her finger on the trigger. Because of this, Verga asserted that the government had to fish around for other evidence of Lynn's intent and settled on using witness interpretations of her tone of voice. But the defense counsel said Warendorf didn't have anything in his original report about any tone of voice that neither did Kluber or McCarter. Verga said that the government obviously assumed that Lynn would use an insanity defense and thus her intent would be an issue. When prosecutors realized that Lynn would be present, a straight not guilty plea, they had to go back and reconstruct. Now, how do her words gain meaning? Are the things that significant at the time, aren't they included? Because without some significance in those words, some reflection on the tone of voice, and that's an assault, plain and simple. Most witnesses could not see Lynn facing when she uttered the incriminating words, Viagra said. He told the jurors to experiment when they began their deliberations, have someone stand behind the door and see that they can't see them, so they can't see their face, and they have them say the words without telling the listeners. The speaker would try to express surprise, frustration, disappointment, and disbelief by tone of voice. Could the listeners then accurately identify the speaker's intent? There's no one of you that's going to get it right, not one of you. There will be many different answers, and there are as jurors, because tone of voice is such a nebulous thing. McBride finally interrupted. We'll take our noon recess at this time. We will end here, and we will finish the defense of Lynette Squeaky Fromm tomorrow, which will go into the deliberations of the juror. So you think there's any truth or or honesty into anything I'm saying here, especially as it relates to today's level of corruption in our world? Please like and subscribe and share and have a good day. Thank you.